Hello friends, so here we are again, two-wheel rider, back out on the road on actually a really nice sunny day. And we'll talk about the bike we're on today in a bit, but just a bit of channel roundup really. Again, thanks for all your comments, and I do get to go through them all as best I can and answer as many. But there's an awful lot of videos out there, so I have to do like a roundup maybe at the end of the week and stuff like that, but I do get to see them all. People will notice when we do the look around the bike here that I'm actually on the bike that I did one of my last videos on, which was a talk around the small capacity adventure bikes, and that caused a little bit of controversy, didn't it? I think not major controversy, but I think it made some interesting talking points for everybody, and my thoughts around the small bikes and with the gearing and stuff like that. But the thing I need to point out is that the bike I was sitting on, which is this one, isn't mine. People thought it was mine, and I should have made that clear, shouldn't I? But no, this I used this bike as a bit of a prop because I was doing this episode at the same time for the review of this bike, and I thought, well, it's a nice place to sit, and because it's an adventure bike, and I thought you might like that. But yeah, so yeah, the things around that, some of the comments we had were around, thinking, well, big bikes are too heavy and people want light bikes and the rest of it, and that's exactly true. And but I think it was just trying to, in my eyes, the limitations of the small bikes with the gearing and stuff like that, and they're still doing more gearing options certainly in Australia. So I think they had that bike for a couple of weeks more. We talked about the CF Moto 450. But it's still going to be very interesting to see how that progresses with those. And I do cover a little bit again on this, and although it's a sort of general review of this bike, I also do look at the pitfalls of having bikes like this as well, and what's happened with these really, about the power and having to have lots of traction control. But I hope you enjoy this. Spoiler alert, this is one of my favourite bikes, and but I think we'll go and have a look. And have a little chat, and then we'll do some riding, all the rest of it. But yeah, this was a great day out for me on this bike. Looking at this bike particularly, it's really just to show what good value these seem to be to me now. 16, 17, 18 plate bikes are no dearer than those small capacity adventure bikes, which I know, if weight's the issue, then you don't go down this route. But if it's just financial, then these are really well worth looking at now, because I think they're phenomenal value for money. They really are. But let's go and have a look anyway, and have a chat around all those aspects. Alright, so here we are then, the Honda Africa Twin. And I have to have a slight admission here, this really is one of my most favourite bikes. I love the Africa Twin. Reasons being, one, I just love the style of it. I think it looks great, and in this colour, I don't think anything gets close to it, apart from maybe a GS in the similar colours. But as you know, I'm a gold wheel freak, and I had the Africa Twin, so that's another admission previous to this. And yeah, what a great looking piece of kit. But I didn't have gold wheels, so I was always always disappointed by that. Big shout out to Billy's Motorcycles in Pulborough. Another great bike that they've lent me for today, and it's been really nice getting onto this bike. But do check them out. We will do a video from Billy's when I get the chance, and but they're a really good dealership, and well worth using if you're in the area, or if you're not, because they will come and pick up and drop bikes back off, which is a really nice service that a lot of bike maintenance shops don't offer, and obviously bike sales, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So the Africa Twin, and so one of the reasons why I wanted to use this bike today was because I still think that this is now probably the best value big adventure bike. I mean, people might call this sort of mid-size adventure, but I can't really call this mid-size. I still think this is pretty big. 1000 cc's or 998 cc's, running I think 98 horsepower, which when you see the 40 to 60s, that's more than enough. And it's interesting that
there's a lot of talk now around adventure bikes and what that really means. And you know, when you take this off-road, having all that power and all that weight does really cause you problems, really. That's why motocross bikes are incredibly light, and trail bikes are very light, or trials bikes are very light, because they're designed to do that. This is often quite overlooked, isn't it, in this category? And I've never really understood why. You know, it can't be because it just doesn't have the power. Maybe it's the size, but the thing with this is, to me, it always felt like a really big, grown-up enduro type of bike. You know, originally the Africa Twin was designed for things like the Paris-Dakar, wasn't it, and that sort of stuff, which I think it did pretty well with. But it had the right suspension set up, and the geometry of it meant that it was really good off-road. Yes, it's heavy, and you know, that's a whole nother debate, isn't it, having bikes this heavy, because you don't want them, you know, when you're riding in sand and gravel and stuff, that you want something really light that could just skip through all that, because you just get bogged down. And even with all that power, you get bogged down. And it's why we have now this when you get a lot of these big bikes with, I mean, what does the GS run at now? 130, 40 horsepower, whatever it is, something crazy, isn't it? And you've got to have loads of technology now to rein that back. And you think, well, why put all that tech in there? Why not just lower the power anyway? Because your, you know, 60, 70, 80 horsepower is more than enough to drag this thing around. And you don't need all that power when all it's going to do is spin the wheels when you're off-road. So you need more usable power, more usable torque. And that's where you get all this traction control, and you can put it to sand and put it to gravel and all the rest of it. And that's simply because there's too much power, and you've got to rein it back. But we've got into this race, haven't we? We do everything, don't we? There's the power race. There was the cameras with the pixel race. We had to have more pixels. More pixels didn't make you a better photographer. And I speak for experience, because I've done a lot of photography for many years, and street photography was my thing. That's another story. But you know, you don't need that many pixels. Pixels don't make you a better photographer. A better camera doesn't make you a better photographer. It's knowing how to take good pictures makes you a good photographer. Well, I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole here. I don't want to go down, isn't it, really? But you know, more power doesn't make you a better rider. You know, more tech doesn't make you a better rider. It just takes some of that control away from you. And that's why I think, you know, when people get traction control on their bikes, they need to be able to switch it off. They like to be able to switch it off. And do you think they would miss it if it wasn't there? Probably not. You know, how much do you use traction control? You don't. You're not going to use it on the road. So, yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Where we've gone down this sort of route where we need to give you more. To buy more bikes, we need to give you more. We need to update bikes. We need to give you more of this, more of that. And now it's the radar, isn't it? The cruise control, radar control, cruise control, all that sort of stuff. You know, is it too much? Some of it is good, but at the end of the day, all it ever does is add weight to your bike. You know, no one's taking weight off their bikes, are they? They just seem to be putting weight on, and that's one of the reasons why these new small capacity adventure bikes are becoming more popular.
So looking at the Africa Twin then, and getting into the meat and bones of what this episode was really all about. Why do I like it so much? Apart from the fact it's got gold wheels and it looks great, like I said, it's just how well it rides. When I had my bike, I was always amazed at how agile it was once you were moving. It was an absolute dead weight when it wasn't. It was shockingly heavy, and it's got a higher centre of gravity. You know, you might see when on some of the riding shots how you get such a lean angle on it because you're quite high up. It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But the beauty of this bike to me always was it was just a nice place to be. It felt well proportioned. and you didn't feel anything was hanging over or hanging off the back. You just felt you were in complete control of this bike. We'll do that acceleration test that I normally do, 40 to 60. It's mildly academic in it because this is such a quick bike, but it is very noisy with that exhaust, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I'll do the acceleration test for you now. It sounds like I'm in one of those 70s films where there was racing cars. That's Steve McQueen or something out, but it's such a loud bike that would drive me nuts in the end. The standard pipes on a bike like this were really good. It always sounds good. I always think the Africa Twin, and like most Honda Twins, I think they sound really good out of the box. Petworth was shut off this day. This going into the town centre. I think the people of Petworth would be more than overjoyed at that I couldn't disturb their midday lunch. But you might see the lean angle there. So it does lean, this bike, because you are so high up, and that was always one of the criticisms of this bike, that it was quite a tall bike. And I will say as a stationary bike, it doesn't handle its weight well. I can remember dropping this in my garage, and it's one of those very slow speed drops, and I couldn't lift it up. You can watch untold videos of 2-year-old children lifting up Africa Twins and GS's, but I don't know how the hell they do it, because I couldn't do it. That's one of those major points, isn't it? I remember when I did drop this bike, and I thought immediately, if I was in the middle of a desert or middle of some remote part of Africa and it had fallen over, to my mind it would just been easier to pull out a gun and shoot it in the head and walk off. But yeah, I can imagine trying to lift bikes like this up more than once or twice in a session can get very old very quickly. But I suppose the advantage, what you're always relying on, is this bike is easy to keep upright when you're moving. So the best thing is just to keep moving, never stop. I know when I had mine and I had my pillion on, and always coming up to junctions and stopping, you just hope that there was nothing slippery on the road, and that, it takes away a little bit of the fun of the bike, doesn't it? In that respect. But you could sort of forgive it all that slightly when you're actually starting to ride it, because this is such a fabulous bike to ride. I really want to get out on a GS just to see what the difference is in the balance of that bike compared to this, because I think the weight of the GS is a little bit lower down because of the engine configuration, but I'd really like to see that. One part I would say is I did see the new pictures of the GS Adventure. That's an odd styling, isn't it? Well, I'm not sure what's going on there. It'd be interesting to see what people's views are on that. Have B&W gone? People didn't like the new one as well as received the new one as well as we like, so we're going to go back a little bit and take a step back. I'd like to know people's thoughts on that. It's very interesting, isn't it? That GSA odd way of going around things. Back to the bike in hand, though. I think if I have one criticism about the Honda, it's got to be the servicing cost. The one example being the valve check, which seems to be a way for all manufacturers to make a lot of money out of their owners these days. I might be being a little bit cynical there, but I know when I took this bike into my bike into a main dealer for the service check, which was at about 14,000 miles, I think it was. They were looking at £850 for that, which I thought was just shocking, to be honest with you, for a bike that probably didn't need it. And that's just the only thing I would say about that. It's the same as even if you're just changing the air filters. You've got to pretty much strip the whole bike down to get to the air filters, which seems really bizarre for a bike and bikes of this type, which you might need to be, if you like, you're going on your expedition, and you want to be able to repair them easily. And that's my main criticism of this bike. And to be fair, that can be a deal breaker for some people. And I always say, if you're going to buy a bike like this, particularly the Africa Twin, make sure it's had the valve check done so somebody else can take their pain, because I don't think people ever do it again after that. And I do know that I've seen where people have been riding these for about 160,000 miles and not bothered doing the valve check. My view is, right or wrongly, if it's running right, why worry about it? It's not going to do the bike any harm, really. And it's not going well because it won't be running right. Before I forget, suspension-wise, this is the bike I tended to judge everything else I've ridden since, because it was the best setup of any bike I've ever had, and jumping on this one just felt completely at home. It's superb, and you won't be disappointed with this setup on this bike. We'll head back to the tree, and I'll nip one pull two through the little gap here. Easy bike to ride slow speed. But let's have a walk around and have a look and chat about the bike.
So front to back then, fantastic gold wheels. Everybody wants gold wheels. They're just the best thing in the world. 21 inch, so exactly what you want for off-roading, but you're never going to go off-road. Tongue in cheek. These are your filters, radiators, sorry, so you've got your twin rads there, really cool. I love the front styling of this, and you can see where they're moving it with all their other bikes. But this is very similar, isn't it, in look to the new CF Moto, and CF Moto are not stupid enough not to copy everybody else. That parallel twin engine, beautiful. This bike is, what is this now, 7 years old. It's still immaculate, really, to be honest with you. And when you're looking at the frames and the welding, I always think Honda are pretty much second to none with their welding on their bikes. You do get fans on these as well. Never had a fan go off on any of my Hondas. Never seem to get that hot. The Honda panniers, again, gold wheels. You got the nice calipers on here, really good. The other thing that you get on bikes like this, adjustable grip, adjustable levers as well. We've got the rear back box as well, which is nice. All run off one key. The great colour scheme. I just think the red, blue and white is just great, and with the gold, it's awesome, isn't it? I'd say that's probably aftermarket shock on there, but then remember this is a second-hand bike, so somebody's done a bit of work on it, and I think that's why it's a little bit lower. When you're looking at the dash, so this is quite simple, this dash, I always think, and I quite like this. So obviously you hear everything whirring. So you've got your neutral, you've got your speed, digital speed and rev counter at the top. It gives you lots of trips on here. So you've got your full mileage down there. Fuel is up there, which is great. And then you've got your traction control and bits and pieces, which go off here. That gives you the sets, and then you can select up and down. So when you're doing that, it's doing all your bits and pieces, tell you what you want. Indicators, switch gear is really nice. It's really, really nice to switch gear on here. Kill switch and everything as you expect over here, and your hazard lights. Gold bars, got to have gold accents everywhere, haven't you? Fantastic. And you get the screen, and you get a bar there where you can mount stuff, which is really, really handy. You've got ABS on and off. This has got USB down here. Oh no, it's the cigarette lighter one. That's interesting. Now mine had twin USBs on mine, so that had been changed out on mine. But that's a cigarette lighter. That's quite old-fashioned, isn't it? I always think cigarette lighters are quite old-fashioned. I know you run 12 but often. You're not going to go smoking on these. The saddle is really nice. They're quite firm, I would say, these. And I think you can get the Sealy Grand seats for these. I had a Sealy Grand on my NC750, which I didn't rate very highly, that seat, until I did some work on it from underneath. But these aren't too bad. I remember on mine I actually had one of those sheepskin jobbies on here, and that made it really comfy. But the pillion is really good. It's a high seating position. Actually, the pillion is actually more comfortable than the ride. Not that it's tiring on this bike at all. This has got the guards and stuff on it, but really, really, really nice. Yeah. So the CRF, obviously the logo, competition race 4-stroke, which I put up on my my little video of the CRF 250L, which hardly anybody watched. I thought that was a really nice little video. Why didn't anybody watch that? Go back and watch it. But it's just a lovely bike. It is just a lovely bike. And you know when a bike can maintain its condition after this amount of time and miles, the quality's got to be good. This is actually a change screen. They're not normally smoked on this. This is one of those Puig, is it Puig? Puig screens on here. But an absolutely lovely piece of kit. Yeah, really nice to ride this bike. So I hope you enjoyed the little review on the Africa Twin. I can't emphasise it. I still think this is pound for pound the best value bike of this type on the market. And if you're going touring, but you want to look like Ewan and Charlie, I think this is the way to go. They're so good. They are so good. And it's just got that slightly smaller frame, and it's a little bit nimbler than the GS. Yeah, I don't think you'd ever be disappointed. But buy one after it's had its valve check done, because you save yourself 850 quid. And it'll go on for years and years and years. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, ride safe, and I'll get this bike back. Right, we shall depart this lovely philosophic countryside on this very loud Africa Twin. And it's like all sorts of people on their bikes today. Very nice. Yeah. One thing, Grover, the suspension's fantastic on this. Right, there you go.